Alright, sorry about that. To give a quick update on what this is about, take a minute and think. Most of us are in America, right? The people I know are in America. I've got a lot of outside ties, but we're mostly all in America. Now, this is a guy from Australia, and they had full gun control. They had false flag attacks that led to gun control. I mean, luckily we're not brain dead enough to where we fully just give into this bullshit. But I want you to listen to a man from Australia for, I would say, 7-8 minutes. Just listen to him and tell me if it does not sound like America.
Without freedom of thought, there can be no such thing as wisdom, and no such thing as public liberty without freedom of speech. And this week's opening quote comes from Ben Franklin. Welcome to Surviving the Matrix, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Maxwell Egan. It's a pleasure to be with you once again, and I'll be your host for the next hour. Well, whether you are a fan of Benjamin Franklin and his hidden exploits at the Hellfire Club or not, which I would suggest are pretty underhanded, there is certainly a lot of truth contained within that quote, ladies and gentlemen. And freedom of speech and freedom of thought are two of the things that are very much under attack from this government system. And I'm expected to see quite a bit of chaos in 2019. Things really look like they're ramping up. The political situation certainly hasn't improved. There's far more theatre coming down the pike for everybody. Talk of impeachment of Trump and all sorts of stuff. I mean, I really doubt that will happen. But we're certainly seeing a lot of chaos anyway. The protests in France are continuing and seem to be taking off around the world as well. I really hope they pick up some steam. And of course, these protests are being vilified by the media. But really, it's a good thing, folks. What the protesters are doing in France basically is telling everybody to boycott the system. Non-compliance, folks. They're telling people not to shop at big supermarkets, to go and buy from farmers' markets, and to return the power to the people. And that's a very good thing, and that's something that needs to be done in every country on earth.
That's right. Boycott the bankers, boycott the system, boycott everybody that's here to harm us. Sorry about clearing my throat. The last push right now is to remove all your money from the banks. Everybody go and remove your money from the banks. And the reason for that is the banks only keep a quarter, a tiny little piece of all the money that you guys put into these fucking banks. They don't have your money on hand. They do not. What they do is they take your money and then they go reinvest it in different places for interest, and then they keep the interest. And then when you expect to want to have your money, you just pull from that pool. You pull P-U-L-L money from that pool. P-O-L-L. I don't know, man. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you should research fractional banking and understand what's really going on, why we are in debt, and who owns everything. And I would love to put my conclusion in this video, but it's not possible because y'all ain't ready for that. But I'm going to put that in another one here in the future.
It really does, most especially here in Australia. Australia really is one of the most corrupt and controlled places on earth, folks. It's a beautiful country, Australia, were it not for the government and the police, who are some of the most brutal on earth and some of the most profoundly stupid on earth. Of course, a combination of ignorance and power is a very dangerous combination for anybody to have.
Now, I sent him a message about that very comment and said, you're explaining America.
as far as Western standards go and the Western world goes, Australia really is leading the way as far as police states and government corruption. We just get away with all sorts of things here, folks. People get pulled over by the police and subject to drug tests and breath tests and checked up on all the time just to make sure they're not stepping outside the lines. Even though they haven't committed any crime, they're not under any suspicion at all, but the police will just pull you up and harass you just to check to see if there's any way they can extort some income from you. And the government gets away with all sorts of stuff like this, and it just goes beyond what anyone will believe is possible. You know, they're imprisoning children even though we know they're being abused in detention centres in Villawood and out on Nauru. We put refugees out on the islands in Nauru. Innocent people trying to escape tyranny, we just put them in prison. Because, of course, we don't have any room for refugees here. We've got a country that is twice the size of Europe with 26 million people in the country, so we can't fit any more people in here unless they are migrants that are being brought in to undermine the social structure of Australian culture. We can always fit those people in, but anybody who is really, truly needy, who is a real refugee and suffering a state of real hardship, well, we just throw them out onto an island in Nauru. There's no point putting these people here because they can't really serve the government agenda in any way, so we may as well just forget about them, out of sight, out of mind, and don't let the media report it to anybody and just treat them like non-humans because that's the Australian government way.
Do you see? It's not just our government. It's the same tactics over over the main sources, like the mainlands, the mainlands. However you want to fucking say it. It's the same government being pushed everywhere. And, yeah, to America, it's coming here. It's coming here. It'll probably get bloody. It is what it is. But, just, that dude's from Australia. And, he's telling you what we're looking at right now. Except, I don't know, except that they can't defend themselves. And we really can't either. Because honestly, even here in America, we might hold arms, but we let our military create weapons that we can't fight against. We can't fend against. So don't just think that because you have arms, you're good to go. No, not at all.
Well, it's certainly Peter Dutton's way anyway. Peter Dutton is a textbook sociopath, folks, absolute psychopath with absolute disregard for the well-being of anybody but himself, apart from, of course, the corrupt banksters he so willingly supports, as all politicians do. These days, it's just the way of the world. But that's Australia, folks. It's an incredibly corrupt place. You know, as I said, incarcerating children, they disarmed the people, so we can't do anything about it. With the false flag shooting that the government staged at Port Arthur many years ago, it was the worst massacre in the world at the time, and of course it was staged by government.
All right. So here he goes on to talk about one false flag event that led to the whole situation. Nobody on this channel knows me, really, because I just now made this channel. But everybody who knows me on Fedbook, Facebook, and, you know, they know all the research I've done into all these fake-ass shootings here in America, the fake-ass bombings in Paris, and everything that, you know, oh my God, I've done so much. Y'all just don't know me on this fucking channel. It's a new channel. I didn't expect to launch it until I had a laptop up and ready, but shit happened, and, you know, now I got subs. Oh well. Man, I wish I could bring everything I had to this right here, because this moment right here that we're looking at on my screen is what leads to places getting fucked over and you losing all your rights. And I've studied it way too much and I put it out there way too much. But this is one case that got everybody in Australia fucked.
Every evidence that it was staged by government. There's the phone conversations that were heard during the event, which clearly showed that there was police in the house with Martin Bryan. It was the police who were doing the shooting. There was the fact that the Tasmanian government bought a mobile mall just a couple of months before the event and then sold it after the event. There's also the little detail that the gun that was used for the event was actually confiscated by Victorian police a year before the event, so one might question how it ever got to Tasmania into the hands of Martin Bryant. There's also the fact that the police were called to the other side of the island on a wild goose chase, and the event didn't take place until the police rang up and informed their superiors that they were on a wild goose chase, and when their superiors knew that all the police were on the other side of the island, then the shooting was staged. The fact that there's video footage of a Channel 7 helicopter there while the shooter is walking out of the cafe where the shooting occurred, not to mention the fact that whoever did the shooting must have been one of the world's best shooters, because even an Olympic shooter has stated that he would be very hard pushed to achieve that amount of accuracy in that amount of time. And just consider for a moment just how good this shooter really was, folks. All head and neck shots, and all shot from the hip, by a man who'd never had any firearms training. And in less than 30 minutes, at 6 separate crime scenes, 35 people were shot dead, another 22 were wounded, and 2 cars were stopped using only a total of 64 bullets. On one occasion, when he went for a car, there was a car that was driving down the road towards him. He'd fired one sighting shot into the car, then a second to disable the driver, and then a third shot directly into the motor block to disable the vehicle. This is a known military combat technique for disabling vehicles. Very few people know of this technique, and only a handful of experts can master it with only 3 bullets, and this awesome display of combat marksmanship was blamed on an intellectually impaired young man who had no shooting or military experience at all. Think about it, folks. You know, when you look at it, there is absolutely no doubt in looking at any of the evidence, in fact all the evidence strongly says and tells you with no uncertain scientific terms that Martin Bryant killed no one at Port Arthur. This crime was committed by the Australian government in order to disarm the people. End of story. A very telling point, of course, the fact that the accused, Martin Bryant, never went to trial, and of course he never went to trial, because if he had gone to trial, the evidence would have shown that he wasn't guilty, because all the evidence suggests he was completely innocent of the affair. And that was used to disarm the Australian people. Little Johnny Howard did that one. Maggot Magoo, we like to lovingly call that man. One of the most corrupt politicians in the world. But again, that's just the Australian government way, and they're continuing to do everything they can, folks. They're ramping up the debt slavery. And did you know that the Australian government is...
All right. So I'm not going to get into all the other stuff here. But we see what it is. We understand why it is. We understand how they do it. Damn. I'm flabbergasted right now, because I feel even with an uprising, it probably won't get too far until we the people have special ops who can try and combat our own government. You know, I used to be a constitutionalist, somebody who believed in the Constitution. And the more I research fake history compared to true history, and watch what goes on and comment on what goes on, and actually researches and puts the pieces together, man, I just think we're in a world of hurt, on the real, because we got so many who are trying to censor everybody over their feelings and try to, you know, I mean, everybody's using these apps, and all these apps have their own rules. Well, your rights have no jurisdiction at all over their rules. They just get to rule, and that's what we're looking at. I've studied major attacks and false flag attacks until my ears turned blue, and I've done it for years and years and years. And I've studied America's history over and over and over. And I can talk maritime law and, come on, man. I've been through it. And what I'm finding out now is the resets of humanity. And what I've learned is the last reset was somewhere around 1850. And everything that was found in them cities at that point was destroyed. Or whatever was conserved and kept alive was in other places. But even the American Revolution is fake. Once we look at the fact and we understand that there was huge castles, huge monuments out of bricks, stones, copper, and everything like that before we even came to this country. We found it, and then we tried to take it over. Then you got to figure out who's really running the show. So I'm gonna leave that up to y'all. And I don't know, man, but it gets really deep, and I hope y'all care to find out, man, because the apocalypse doesn't mean destruction; it means awakening, and it means the veil is being lifted, and we're coming into these understandings, and we do have some shit to fight. And I don't know, man. I hope I get my laptop somewhat sooner than later. But if not, you're just gonna be seeing this crap. I can't put it together for you because I don't have the means at the moment. But yeah, everyone be blessed. Hope you all the best.